Hello and welcome. I'm joined by Ben,
Hi.
Karrion, and this is our second of our kind of like one-to-one sessions set in Waterdeep. After the last session, which depending on if you're actually seeing this on Twitch, and I've seen the rest of the sessions, it could get a bit confusing. But anyway, the guys have been down in the Goblin Bazaar. Jareth, the king of the goblins, got back up to Waterdeep, and a little bit of downtime. Don't need the whole of the group, and this is just a way to kind of build a little bit of character stuff without wasting other people's time as they sit and wait for their turn or what have you. So, where was Karrion staying out of interest when you hit Waterdeep?
I think he'd have followed his way back with the rest of them to Troll Skull, just because, unless he was actively told not to, but he would have, because he doesn't actually need to sleep anywhere.
Yeah.
I just need to remain stationary for 6 hours.
Yep.
So yeah, he'd have probably gone to Troll Skull, but probably have made his leave as quick as kind of like seemed polite, and kind of headed over to kind of like the most solemn order of the Silent Shroud, if they've got a temple there, which I presume they do.
Actually, they
Or at least the
don't.
presence. Do they not?
Yeah, so you know of the Temple of Kelemvor, which was more of a shrine than a temple when you were there. And that is located down, as you recall, on the edge of Dock Ward, which is kind of like if Waterdeep is this, it's there. It's the bottom corner by the
Yeah, the
harbour.
dock.
And it's the kind of like the crowded slum tenement rather than the kind of richer area. And as you're kind of heading down, let's just say it's what, early morning, fairly early morning, I guess. The kind of grey sky that there is, cold. You kind of clearly do you exhale? Would you exhale
Nope,
breath?
I don't breathe.
So you kind of lumbering down without kind of the wisps of white smoke coming out from you. Stall holders setting up their stalls. We may get interrupted, by the way, because this is very much prime Kenzo time. And you kind of head down. There's various people like laying in the gutter and whatnot, probably dead because it would have been that warm last night. But you head towards the House of the Order.
I raised them
Passing.
all.
As zombies.
don't.
Yeah, brains. Kelemvor. And towards the House of the Order Passing, which is the temple in Waterdeep.
House of the.
Ordered Passing.
So I presume, like, I'd have had a contact here when I arrived before going into Undermountain.
Yes, that's right. So let's say that contact was Jethlick the Grey.
Then I will make my way into the temple
and So you arrive at the
try and
temple.
identify Jethlick.
Okay, so you kind of have to skirt around the edge of Mount Waterdeep, and the temple is built predominantly with the bulk, as you recall, the bulk of its kind of rooms and spaces in Mount Waterdeep, but it has been substantially expanded since you were last there. It looks to have been kind of a facade of white marble has been added to it, so it's fairly prominent now. But the construction and the imagery of Kelemvor is quite restrained and quite subtle. There's a small courtyard that you kind of enter into, and it's really quite structured. It looks as if it's a receiving area, like a processing bay. Kind of actually, there's a number of lay people and junior clerics are kind of tending to corpses, and each of them has a scribe. There's about 5, and each of them has a scribe. And you can see that attached to the temple there is a watch house, and there's a couple of officers of the watch lounging outside, and then there's the usual martial arm of the temple, or of the Church of Kelemvor, which you would expect to have to protect the temple and the kind of goods within.
Yeah, the Doom Guides.
Yeah, and it looks like the kind of junior clerics or the lay worshippers are trying to establish cause of death. There's most of the so that it's like laid out with a stone plinth. There's a corpse on the plinth covered with a funerary shroud, and there's typically small groups gathered around. One of the corpses actually is just a small collection of officers of the watch gathered around. And you would know that what they will likely be trying to do is, for each of the corpses, establish a likely cause of death, a likely time of death, the primary faith of the deceased, and if there are any next of kin that could be contacted, or what the wishes were. As you kind of stroll in, a cleric with their kind of scribe strides across to you. Good morning, well met. And then it kind of like takes a slight pace backwards. How tall is Karrion?
Not massive, so like 5'8", 5'9". Quite, because he's quite a slight built warforged, because he's dex rather than strength.
I am Morgan.
The hood would be very far forward, and Nyx will have been dismissed.
Yeah, he does take a slight pace backwards from you, and then like a quizzical look forward. I am Morgan Smithson. I'm the cleric on duty. I'm assuming you bear the symbol of Kelemvor?
Yeah, be on the shield.
Yeah.
And I'll have some sort of holy order kind of thing as well.
You're of our faith, of the solemn order.
Yes, brother.
I've
been gone for quite a long time. No, and I'm not dead either. Fear not.
I can sense that no one dead can pass the threshold of this place. The scribe is kind of like stood slightly bored, actually. This is a bit of a shit job for a scribe. It's not what I expected to do when I went to scribe in school, but it pays the mortgage.
Well, if you work hard, you might get on and kind of become chief scribe, and then you can be in charge of the other scribes.
Yeah. The team lead position's just been advertised on the internal notice board. All kinds of stuff like that. Yeah, it's good.
If this adventuring lot doesn't come, I might take it.
Might apply. It's a sideways move. It's more of a sideways move.
Yeah,
but you sometimes
pays better.
Yeah, you got to go sideways to kind of go forward sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyway, career advice is also available from the channel. I've heard of. Just if you would take a seat.
I seek Jefflick if he's still.
Oh, Jefflick retired a few years ago.
Who holds his post now?
Well, I'll go and get Kaylee. He's the senior priest here. She's the senior priest here. If you could maybe take a seat over there.
I prefer to stand, but yes, I will.
Okay. So, boss, are we? What am I supposed to do? Describe that. Just stand with him. Whatever. And he kind of, quite in a flustered way, heads back into the temple, which is, as I say, set into the mountainside. Again, these clean kind of white marble lines. This frosting etched in the stone from the cold. And there's a big pile of snow in one corner, which has been clearly shoveled into one way and hasn't yet melted or what have you.
I asked the scribe.
He's rubbing his hands.
When was the improvements made?
What? Well, this place. I don't know, 5 summers ago, maybe 10. There was a big drive. And there was some arrangement with the city. Try to keep it away from the city of the dead, which was kind of reaching capacity and stuff. So to create a facility, a bit of money was spent from the open lord into the church. Looks up at the sky. Goes, looks like it's going to be a clear day, I guess. Not much snowfall. Oriel's still got a grasp around her bollocks, though, hasn't she?
Yours, maybe.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I know. I might feel the cold a bit. That doesn't make me a wuss. All right. Yeah. You want to just?
I was more implying I don't have bollocks.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah. Each their own. Takes a slight pace back. Looks away. Decides small talk is perhaps not where he's actually headed. And a female comes out. She's about 5'2". She's really quite small, but looks human. She's got red kind of hair, and as in bright red hair, and not like a ginger color or a copper color or anything like that. Bright red hair. Kind of. She's got a hood back, and she strides kind of forward. She has a stylus and like a charcoal slate kind of thing, a slate that she's kind of like writing down on a bit of chalk and what have you. She comes across to you. So identify yourself. What's your name?
Karrion Deathbane, cleric of the Doom Guide.
Yes, adventurer. Yes, Deathbane. Indeed.
I push back my hood.
Yes. Morgan, you are correct. Now, go on about your duties, and you head off. Come, just step a little, and she takes you to one side. Right now, as we think. Deathbane. So you've not been in contact with a temple for a while, have you? We try to avoid using these alarmist names.
About 20 years I've been in Undermountain, by my reckoning.
Undermountain.
Yes. I know why I was there. I do not recollect beyond passing the entrance, and I appear to have been revived recently.
20 years and you were revived. So that means that you were unaware of your surroundings and you have no recollections of that time.
None at all.
Okay.
I mainly want to know if the item I seek has been recovered in my absence.
Right, so we will have a record of that, I'm sure. But you've been out of contact for 20 years and you can't recall what has happened to you in that time. So how long back can you recall from when you were revived?
From when I was revived to now? Or
Yes.
before I was revived?
From when you were revived to now.
From the moment of reawakening.
And how long would you say that was?
What's it been? A few weeks? A week or so?
A few weeks. Maybe a couple of weeks, tops.
About 2 weeks.
No, actually, it might feel like that, but it's probably been a week.
Been about a day, hasn't it?
It was 15 minutes ago.
So there was, because we rested probably about
probably
a week.
Yeah.
About a week.
A 10-day. And who revived you and under what circumstances?
I don't believe it was anyone in particular that revived me. The party that found me.
Adventurers in Undermountain. Okay.
Yes, we're traveling with another individual who had an item of dubious nature, shall we say, a weapon of dubious
magics involved,
and it appeared to, apparently, according to their recollection, it consumed him. And as it consumed him, I awoke.
Okay. What I'm going to ask you to do is, if you would just come in to the temple, I will need to get in touch with the most solemn order of the Silent Shroud, as is our standing orders in this kind of situation.
That's fine.
Now, it might feel a little slightly disconcerting, but I'm going to ask you to come and stay in an area of dead magic.
That's fine.
Okay. And she's very careful not to make any sudden movements or anything like that. Just backing away. Creature roused by fell magics, not the last 20 years. No
I'm unarmed. Well, with the exception of the Fist of Kelemvor, I'm unarmed.
Yeah.
Obviously a shield, and obviously a huge amount of death magic.
Yeah, which she's aware of. So you're taken into the complex, and as she kind of walks, she calls a couple of the martial figures that are in kind of full plate. Again, looking very clean, all very kind of all very minimalist. Actually, the whole thing is very clean design,
very
minimal
Apple.
design. It is.
Does it look like an Apple store?
It looks
for dead bodies.
If Apple did Dead Bodies, then this is exactly what it would look like. Yeah, that's very true. It's well lit. Yeah, almost overlit actually. And you kind of you're taken through into what looks to be a fairly substantial complex, and there's quite a lot of checks and controls around this as the corpses are getting processed. They're being really careful about keeping different traditions and faiths and cultures separate. So there's quite a big space in the as you kind of go across the threshold into the mountain. And there's a number of signs above each of these smaller alcoves, and it's almost as if the corpses are being placed into different alcoves, depending primarily upon the racial culture that they come from. But then there are other kind of aspects as well, and some of them are larger and some of them smaller. The main one is kind of like just marked with the kind of lots of the symbols of the gods that you recognise across pretty much all of the symbols of the Faerunian pantheon, and then they're kind of held there. But you can see some of the symbols of the elven deities, some of the dwarven deities, and then just various symbols of what seem to be random gods, and then a smallish area which has no symbols over it
Just a big question mark.
Well, not even that, just kind of like no symbols, and there's a couple of corpses kind of like laid, reposed in there. And you're taken through, Kaylee takes you through into a smallish area, probably not much bigger than a 3x3 space. And you're asked to reside there. There's no windows, kind of nothing like that, but there's no doorway either. You're just kind of presented into it, and the guards kind of like take station beside you. And she heads across and away out of your line of sight. After a period of time that feels more like half an hour than anything else, she comes back. Okay. So Karrion, you're one of those. So we've contacted the Most Solemn Order of the Silent Shroud, and they're going to be sending a team over. You're going to be confined to this space until they have arrived. They're going to try to mobilise as quickly as they can, and they expect to be coming from our Se02 temple, but they're going to use a teleportation circle. So they'll be much quicker than having to come all the way across, as you can imagine. But I need you to wait further instruction and to be patient. It may take a day or two, or even a little bit more.
Not a problem.
Okay. You don't need food, that's right. You don't need water.
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Yes, that's as we understand. Okay. And she kind of like heads off. And you're left kind of there. The guards change every so often. Lots of kind of going,
basically
going.
to shut down.
Yeah.
I can still see and hear and everything when that's in the case.
Yeah. So there's lots
Centuries Rest, I believe it's called.
Yeah, there's lots of to-in and fro-in, kind of like, if this was the time-lapse video, there'd be bodies shuffled in and out, crying people gathered around. There would be what looked to be kind of dismembered bodies come through, magistrates coming in and inspecting some of the bodies, scribes taking notes, scribes walking backwards and forwards, scribes stopping and having a fag, some items brought in to the dead magic area and kind of like left there, receipts given, then recovered and returned to their owners and such.
What sort of items?
Magical items. So wands, staves, swords, all kinds of stuff.
Is it a cloak of greater invisibility?
There are five. You look at them.
I leave them all.
None of them have Zerelda's name in.
I checked.
I mean, you tried, didn't you? You tried. Yeah. One of them doesn't have any name in it. And you reckon that was probably an unprepared family who left it with their kid and they just got into school somehow, and it's just circulating around the school ecosystem.
it'll just be sat in the lost and found forever until someone wets themselves.
Yeah, or it'll have gone home with different children and then be
Yeah.
returned back by their parents, and it's all
No, that's not yours. You can take that back.
yeah, so and found in an ironing pile and all kinds of things. Not that I have any experience of that. I'd like to point out. And it kind of, it gets light, and then, well, the outside gets dark, light, and then gets dark, and then gets light, and then gets dark, and then gets light. After that period of time, and more time, like, there was one interesting point where a couple of people got kind of like quite aggressive with each other, and one got the arm of a corpse and the other got the leg of the corpse, and they were trying to tug them into different loading bays of different cultures or different religions and what have you, and that took a little bit of sorting out, and there was lots of tears before bedtime. But eventually you are confronted by the face of a recognizable but aged female gnome. Karrion, darling, dearest,
Selwyn.
come out of there. Come. Let's go to somewhere a little bit more sensible. And you can see
I scared them with my presence.
And she's just shorter and older than you remember. There are more lines in her face. She's not wearing the goggles that she habitually kind of like wore, and you can see her icy grey eyes. And they just seem more careworn than you recall. But her smile is genuine, and it's lit up on her face at having seen you. The guards are kind of like backed off a little bit, but they're clearly tracking you two figures, kind of like moving.
I glance at them, but I make no move, and I can't smile, so
yeah.
I can't set them at ease.
And you're taken into what looks to be a cleared out administration room. There's like a load of papers that looks as if they've been picked up off a desk and just put onto a shelf as a holding space. And the desk is clear. And there's a bench on one side and a bench on the other. And Cohen points to one side and then kind of goes and hops herself up onto a human-sized bench the other side with her little legs kind of like swinging down. So 20 years. In Undermountain?
Yes, so it seems.
And she reaches down. You recognise immediately her little tinker's bag, little her little artificer's bag, and she starts to pull out various tools and whatnot. A lot of them you recognise, but you don't really know exactly kind of what she's doing. And as she's talking, she's like building up this little kind of contraption. She gets some lenses out. So what happened in Undermountain?
I do not recollect.
Karrion.
I remember entering with the group.
How's Nyx?
Wasn't best pleased about 20 years of not being summoned.
So he wasn't present then when you were.
No.
And do you believe that you were unconscious?
I don't think so. I don't. As in, I from the sound from how I was described by those that found me, I was in quite the state of disrepair.
If you could just lean forward slightly, and kind of like and just open your eye, keep your eye open, and you're kind of like resting against a lens.
I've got no eyelids, so yeah.
Yeah, and she's kind of looking at this, and she says, "So, just the usual." Just the usual post-mission tests, just to check that your calibration remains as it should do. So, what is your name?
Karrion Deathbane.
And from where did you get that name?
From you, for the first part. From my rebellious teenage years, for the second part.
And what was it that drove you to rebel?
I don't believe that things should be followed blindly. There should be faith. Faith while blind doesn't mean blind obedience to those in charge.
And
you can support something without always kowtowing to it.
And you see the lens flares a little bit and kind of like sigils quickly appear and kind of like fade away. And And what form did your rebellion take?
And Nyx appears on my shoulder. I dabbled in non-divine sources of magic.
Nyx. I will want to examine him in a short while. But
By all means.
all things. And if I was to say to you, Karrion, that you were created, not born, what would you say back to me?
That does not mean I'm not alive.
And what was your mission that you were given for going into Undermountain?
To recover Kelemvor's judgment.
And what is Kelemvor's judgment?
I'll pull the sheath off my back. The blade that sits within this sheath.
And did you retrieve it?
Evidently not. Put the sheath down.
And what can you recollect of your time in Undermountain?
Nothing beyond the entrance through the yawning portal.
Nothing
I remember us gathering.
And where were you found in Undermountain?
Near the Drow encampment.
And how far into the... How long did it take you to return from there?
A few days. We were on the 3rd level, I believe. We then came to the 2nd level, to the Goblin Market.
And what
we had a bit of diversions. We found a large number of petrified people, items, individuals, beings.
And what of the companions that you ventured into Undermountain with? What of them?
I have no recollection of them beyond the portal, yawning portal.
And what did you feel when you were revived?
Alive.
More than normal?
Definitely energized. I definitely have abilities more than those when I went in. My skills seem to have increased.
I want you to take some deep breaths. I know that you don't need to, but just do so. Several deep, long breaths. And I want you to slowly close your eyes. And I want you to feel calmness. What is the earliest memory that you have?
Your face. With slightly less grey and wrinkles. And some goggles.
And I want you to just pause and hold that memory with you and to just open your eyes. Yes, that's the face I remember very many years ago. What did it feel like when you were first sentient? Did you feel youthful and exuberant in comparison to how you are now?
No. I'd say it was more naive. I don't feel like I've aged any. I just feel like I'm no more.
And she kind of like goes back and she closes the door that was opened and she starts to dismantle the little thing. Yes, well, I can find no traces of fell magics or any reason why you should be decommissioned.
Well, that's good.
Yes. There is, however, and she kind of like glances down.
I take it from everyone's reaction to me that my brethren, shall we say, didn't necessarily perform the best in my absence.
The church. How best to say this? The church has changed in recent years. It has. It
feels more commercial.
They tell me it is modernized and that it is getting with the times. Perhaps. The role that we play in the world is an important role. But we have not created any of your kind for 15 years. And not many in the 5 years after we did the original batch. And the Order doesn't feel that it was a success.
Unfortunately, I haven't exactly returned with anything to prove different on that front.
Indeed, indeed. But you still have spells from Kelemvor, yes?
Yes.
So, he has not.
In fact, I have more.
Yes.
I'm aware of my, from when I entered to when I was revived, my abilities have expanded. It's like a well within myself, and I can draw more from it than I could before.
Yes. And have you had any challenges controlling that power?
No. It appears with the added depth comes the knowledge of how to wield. It's very different from the other magics I dabbled in. I'm aware of it's. If I reach for it, it is there, rather than having. I don't have to recall it.
Aye.
It is just part of me. Part of him.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. She looks at you, and you can see there's tears starting to well in her eyes.
Now, Mother.
I was sent to decommission you. The Order considers it to be too much of a risk, particularly given that we have no knowledge of what has happened in that 20 years. Clearly you went into the mountain and travelled some distance, so something must have occurred to have placed you into this state. And whilst you speak truly that you have no recollection of that time, entities can mess with minds, as we did actually. But as I sit here... Sorry?
Mess with minds.
I think it is fair in your last moments that you know a little. One of the reasons why you were able to pull so easily Nyx and the weave, and one of the reasons why you have this wellspring of energy within you is, well, not even Kelemvor has the true power of creation anymore. His portfolio is the ordering of death, not the creation of life. And we may have done something outrageously interesting, but also outrageously dangerous. You you were born, or a part of you was born, Karrion. For at your most basic and fundamental level, you are a organic living creature that we built around, at least initially.
Okay.
You were... maybe it's not you, but the creature that became you and that is your source of power, an elf from Kelemvor, a lawgiver and peacekeeper. We incorporated their spirit and their brain into your original design, and we tried to suppress that agency that they brought, and I think it was perhaps a terrible thing that we did. But to keep them alive so they did not die, but that they perhaps are within you still, or their spirit is within you still.
Did they contribute to me willingly?
Yes. It was... yes. You feel that she's holding something back. And it was a yes, but without verbalizing the but.
And the rest, Mother?
They would have wanted their life to have continued, I'm sure. They had not fulfilled what they were destined to fulfill. And whilst we may never have ever obtained exactly their permission for what we did, it is in keeping perhaps with what they would have wished. I've said it. It is out now. I have taken the guilt and the years and taken them from my shoulders. But in knowing this, I think I have to do something.
Do what?
And yet here, in this moment that I've thought of and dreamed of, I find that I cannot. As I say, I was sent here to decommission you, to kill my friend that I sought to keep alive through you. A selfish motive, perhaps, and one contrary to the teachings of our church that focuses so much on the ordered passing into the afterlife. The ordered passing. One of the reasons why you were chosen to go into Undermountain was because you had wielded that sword, that weapon previously, you. And it would only accept a certain line of masters, and we were interested to see if that will continue. You were always experimental, Karrion.
And were my brethren of the same ilk?
One of the advantages of elves is their longevity. They're built to be through the ages. Their minds and their spirits are constructed there. And as we have it understood within our scholarship, they pass their memories from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime and recycle themselves somehow through a sequence of rebirth. So we always thought that perhaps this would just be another rebirth. Your brethren, well, we experimented with different races, shorter lived races, and without doubt they were not equipped for the length of time, nor the incarceration, or they went mad, or worse. So you're the last of your kind. Or more accurately, you're the last of your kind that we had not fully accounted for. There are others out there, and myself and some of my other companions, one of our roles is to identify you and to bring you in and to decommission you. But Kelemvor still grants you your powers, so it must be part of his plan.
Kelemvor judges.
Aye, and it is not the role of mortal creatures to decide upon the time for something that is alive.
I do not believe Kelemvor would grant me even an ounce of his abilities to draw from his well, for I know it is not my own. If he saw wrong in me, or wrongdoing on your part. The church, that's a different matter.
Church
but you taught me more than anybody.
Institution.
Yes, you taught me more that there is more to life than blind obedience. We must question. We must seek for answers.
The emotions that we feel true and real, and we can test ourselves in our spiritual side, and we can feel the spiritual energies within us when we feel that something is true and right, and that is the guidance of Kelemvor settling upon us to nudge us in the right direction. It is not something that our bodies generate, it's an external force that guides us and is there to validate the truth. You were never expected to feel that, but I remember when you came to me and you spoke about this emotions that you felt, and that the certainty and the ability to call upon the weave, which I knew then that we had not properly suppressed the life force and the spirit within you. But I was too weak to do something about it then. I could neither let you free nor end you, and I find myself facing the same quandary now. But this time, wisdom perhaps, and I can feel myself guided by Kelemvor. I will say to the church here that I am to return with you to the most solemn order, but I think you should continue your quest in Undermountain, and I think that you should be cautious until such time as you retrieve that artifact. Try to learn techniques of breathing and meditation, and you may be able to reach within yourself to find the other being that I'm sure is there somewhere. And in doing so, you may be able to further untap that well of power from which you are drawing.
Yes, Mother.
She wipes tears away.
I'll reach forward and wipe them away.
I had never expected you to have this gentleness, or this compassion. And this church should look upon you as a miracle, not as a failed experiment. Come. And she kind of like takes herself back and hops off the chair, goes to her bag, opens the door, and you can see that there's been loitering a number of the clerics, not least of which
I'll have dismissed Nix before they open the door.
Yeah. I must return to Se02 with Karrion. Thank you for informing the Most Solemn Order, and if any of his brethren that we believe are still out in the wild return this way, you must take the same. Keep them in the Dead Magic holding chamber, and contact us. Specifically, ask for me, as I am the lead in this team. Everything's go. No problem. Come, Karrion. Let us go.
I'll follow in a bit more of a automaton fashion.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Dimmed light in eyes.
It's fresh snow lays on the ground of Waterdeep, and there's a gentle, steady, not really a blizzard, but a light kind of like fluttering of snow kind of coming down, and you see her white steam breath coming through. I'm going to go back to my inn, and I'm going to wait a few days and think about what my story will be back at the Order. I suggest that you make yourself scarce for this moment. And she passes you a small oval stone. This is a sending stone. I have its twin. I don't know whether Undermountain allows these things to pass, but if you do need to contact me, get somewhere where it could work, and contact me. I will do all that I can to aid you. And practice. Find somebody or practice what we taught in the breathing and the thinking inwards, and see if you can reach out to that power source.
Yeah. One more question.
Yes, Karrion.
My progenitor. What was their name?
Kalath Amenath Jalan Kuntz of the House Durathil.
Yeah, you can send me that name.
It translates to moonlit still waters.
Thank you. As always. Once again, I owe you my life.
What could a parent do? And she kind of turns and walks off into the light snowfall. What are you doing?
Well, I should probably get the hell out of here. I will make my way back to Trollskull Manor.
Yeah, okay.
And ensconce myself in an empty room there.
Mm-hmm. There were very many of them.
Yeah.
Zerelda is banging away making a bed.
Oh, she's making the bed.
Yeah.
Yes, and then I will split my time between turning the components I receive from the Blackstaff into potions and meditating.
Yeah.
Or at least attempting to.
Yes. You kind of start to kind of develop it a little bit, but it still takes you quite a lot of time. Just the act of breathing is quite strange to you.
And in between times, I've creepily been watching the others breathe.
Yeah.
Just to try and see what it's like.
Every so often you go just to kind of cough it. But you don't find any particular kind of like insights or anything on those lines at this moment in time.